Mark Carney has wrapped his first summit with the Association of Southeast Asian Nations, where he pitched Canada as a reliable trading partner. It comes as the U.S. president threatens a new tariff against Canada and balks at resuming trade negotiations with Ottawa. CBC's Rafi Boudjikanian is in Kuala Lumpur, where the summit was taking place. And Rafi, Carney's about to go on the next leg of his Asia trip, but this feud between Canada and the United States remains unresolved.
That's correct, Ian. Many of our questions to Prime Minister Mark Carney yesterday during his media availability were about, what's going on with the United States. He made it clear he's ready to talk to President Donald Trump again if he gets a call. Of course, all of this started because of that Ontario TV ad, the one that featured former President Ronald Reagan criticizing the idea of tariffs. It was an excerpt from a 1987 Reagan speech, and at least as far as anyone in the halls of power in Washington has told anyone in Ottawa, that ad is the reason the trade talks have halted. This is what Prime Minister Carney told us yesterday. He knows of no other irritant. He said that we should take Donald Trump at his word. That being said, there are a couple of sources who have told our Parliamentary Hill colleague Kate McKenna back in Ottawa that they had been told by the Americans that Ontario Premier Doug Ford's attitude had long been an irritant. His strong anti-American rhetoric. He had called Donald Trump a tyrant, for example. He has been on American newscasts, on American TV shows for a while now, ever since the start of these trade wars, sort of playing bad cop to Mark Carney's good cop / more conciliatory approach. And in the telling of these sources, that ad was kind of the straw that broke the camel's back. And that's why we're now here with these trade talks halted. Again, Carney said that it is all about the ad, to his knowledge. He said that progress was being made on trade talks. And though he has admitted he has not spoken to Trump since all of this happened, he's ready to do so again. Have a listen to him.
The President and I have not spoken since he took this decision. We are ready to have discussions when the Americans wish to have those discussions, but we're not, obviously we don't dictate the timing of that.
I will say, just in observing the Prime Minister at that news conference, there were a couple of moments where he got a little bit perhaps more emotional or testy than we're used to seeing from him. At one point, one of my colleagues asked him, how is it, how do you explain your relationship with Trump going south? And he just kind of said, that's a question for the president, which sort of surprised me. He didn't say our relationship is fine. He just kind of threw it back toward the White House. Of course, journalists in Canada have been asking Doug Ford about this, and he had something interesting to say as well.
Well, he saw the ad before I put it out, so did his chief of staff. They both saw it, and we moved forward on it. But again, we achieved our goal. As we say, mission accomplished, it was done. They're talking about it in the U.S., and they weren't talking about it before I put the ad on.
So the allegation there is that Mark Carney was aware of the ad, and so was his chief of staff before it went on air, and they had, at Ford's telling, seemed to be okay with it. That's not something we've had a chance to ask the Prime Minister's office about yet here in Kuala Lumpur.
So this whole issue, obviously, to an extent, overshadowing the trade mission. But let's get back to that for a moment. What are Carney's objectives for the rest of this trip?
So Carney and Trump are on a bit of a parallel track right now. They both have to go to the Asia-Pacific Economic Cooperation Summit, APEC, in South Korea, but that's not for another few days. So both are kind of trying to fill their time doing other trade mission work. Trump is in Japan to meet the new prime minister there. The Canadian delegation goes to Singapore next for bilateral talks with that country. Carney is expected to meet with business leaders there as well as officials. And of course, then he heads to Korea as well. Both men, both Trump and Carney, want to meet with Chinese President Xi Jinping while they're there. The Trump meeting seems to be confirmed. Carney told journalists at that news conference that he is planning on meeting with Xi. That would be a first for a Canadian Prime Minister in 3 years. And other than that, of course, Carney's also going to visit the Hanwha shipyards in South Korea. Those are the shipyards that would build the next fleet of Canadian subs should South Korea win out on that bid. It's one of the top 2 contenders along with Germany for that work, Ian.
Rafi Boudjikanian live in Kuala Lumpur. Thank you.